We are headed into busy season. Fall and winter, it gets so busy. And a lot of times you don't have time to cook dinner. So while you have time, why don't you put some freezer meals into the freezer and your future self will thank you. Hey y'all, I'm Mandy, and this is Mandy in the Making. A portion of today's video is sponsored by Thrive Market. I will tell you more about them later. But first things first, we are gonna put together technically 6 freezer meals, but one of them, I'm making 2 batches of it just because I have enough to make 2 batches. But let's get started. The first one we're making is so easy. And honestly, it doesn't take a lot of time to put together, and it wouldn't take a lot of time on the day of. However, if you do it now, all you have to do is pop it in the refrigerator and let it thaw overnight, and then just throw it in the oven when it's time to cook. So either or, it's a quick meal whether you do it day of or freezer. This is herb roasted chicken and veggies. So I'm using these aluminum pans. I am going to take some olive oil and not do anything. There we go, the brand new one. I just opened it. Oh, did I just get y'all all foggy? Hold on, no, okay. Now, let's move these to the side, and I just need to do a little bit of chopping, not much. I need to wash these really quickly, but if you have small enough potatoes, you don't even have to cut them. But I've got to cut mine because they're pretty big. So let me go wash these, I'll be right back. So I'm just gonna take these and probably quarter them, and I'm gonna start throwing them into our pans. So I'm making 2 of this one just because I don't need a huge amount. Normally, you could do like a 9 by 13 if you have a larger family than I do to feed, but because it's usually just me and Steven and sometimes Cole, I'm gonna do it this way. So I'm gonna chop all these up and put them in here, and I'll be right back. Okay, we need some large onion chunks. I went over to the refrigerator to get another piece of onion out because I didn't have quite enough on this one. I had two halves of different onions in there, but I left the refrigerator open. It's like, what is that cold air coming behind me? And honestly, at the stage of life I'm in with the hot flashes I've been having, it's welcomed. It is, but I need to go close that, so I'll be right back. Okay, maybe about that much of this one. I'll just throw those in here. I'm trying to separate them as I'm putting them in. Ooh, that was potent. Now, if you have regular carrots on hand, that would be good. I didn't have any, so I just got these, so I didn't have to really cut them. I'm gonna throw some baby carrots in. I'm gonna divide this bag between the 2. Okay, and then lastly, we need to add in some chicken before we throw some olive oil on this. I'm gonna do drumsticks. You can do thighs. I probably wouldn't go for breasts, but that's just me. Let's do 6 in each one. I feel like that's good. Now let's drizzle it with some olive oil. I've got this here. This is, if you've been watching for a while, you know we're obsessed with this Tuscan herb infused olive oil. So I'm gonna drizzle that over top, and we're gonna toss all of this together. I just washed my hands, so I don't really wanna toss it with my hands, but, oh, sir. Okay, I'm just throwing stuff onto the floor, onto the counter. That's how we roll. Okay, now it's time to add some good flavoring, some good seasonings. Now the recipe calls for minced dried onion, basil, parsley, garlic, and salt. I am going to use the shortcut route and use some Spice Titan seasonings. This is Spice Titan home base. So this has got salt, garlic, onion, and black pepper. So that's home base. Then we've got this Italian seasoning. It's got garlic, onion, red pepper, red bell pepper spices, basil, oregano, thyme. We're just going to go with both of these because I feel like that will work. So I'm just gonna toss this in there. If you are interested in Spice Titan, I've always got them linked down in the description box along with a code. I don't earn any money off of you using that code. It just gives you a great discount. So be sure to go check them out. We have a lot of their seasonings and we love all of them. I've not tried anything from them that I was like, meh, we like them all. I'm going in really liberally with this because I want it to have plenty of flavor. This is like a whole meal right here. I mean, really. You make some bread with this, pop some bread in the oven, you're doing good. Okay, that's done. Who knew I was gonna get an arm workout? Let me grab some plastic wrap. So we're gonna cover it with plastic wrap. You know, I have a love-hate relationship, mostly a hate relationship with plastic wrap. It only wants to stick to itself. Tell me I'm wrong. Oh my word, this is comical. Okay, let's cover it tightly. I'm gonna need 2 pieces on each one to make sure that it does what I want it to do. My goodness. Struggle is real. Y'all, the whole thing just came. If you could only see what was happening over here. The Hot Mess Express has arrived. So we're covering it with plastic wrap, and then we're gonna also cover it with aluminum foil. But you gotta do the plastic wrap first. Get it on there pretty tightly if possible. All right, let me do the other one. I'll be right back. Okay, I got that done. Now we're gonna seal it with some aluminum foil. Went a little too far over. Let's scoot you. There we go. Make sure it's good and tight. Okay, let me do the other one. And I'm gonna grab a Sharpie and write the directions on the aluminum foil. So in order to make these, before you go to bed, put them in the refrigerator, then you'll take the tin foil and the plastic wrap off and bake it at 375 for about an hour. And dinner is ready. I would like to thank Thrive Market for sponsoring this portion of today's video. I am backing up to head to the front door because my box just got here and I'm so excited. Here she is in all her beauty. It is time to go inside. It is so hot outside, I had to come out here and grab it really quickly. If you aren't familiar, Thrive Market is an online membership-based grocery store on a mission to make healthy living easy and affordable for everyone. There is a lot of buzz about healthier eating, especially if you're in my age group, okay? But we all can benefit from looking at ingredients, figuring out what's actually good for us and what's not. But why do you want to do all that work when Thrive Market does it for you? Now, I mentioned you want cleaner ingredients for you, but you definitely want it for your kids too. And it is back to school time, whether we like it or not. And I have some great news. Thrive Market is doing their first ever month-long back to school sale starting August 3rd. So by the time this video is up, it's already started. They've got 25% off of some of your back to school favorites. But the thing is, you're gonna wanna check back weekly for the deals because some of the best sellers won't be on sale all month long. It'll be week to week. So just keep going in and checking. It's a great time to stock up for lunch boxes, snacks, all the things that they need to take to school with them. The top brands that are gonna be on sale, Simple Meals, The Good Crisp, which is one of my favorite brands, Aloha, Yum Earth, and so many more. So you're gonna be getting the best organic products as always. However, now you're gonna get an even better deal because of this sale. Some of the things that I've been out of that I was waiting on this order for were these black peppercorns. I got the big bag this time because we go through this so quickly. I also just ran out of vanilla extract. Now that I make my own coffee creamer, I go through vanilla extract a lot. So again, I got the big one. We were running low on tomato sauce and I love their organic tomato sauce. A snack that I haven't gotten from them in a while, but I love, are these Rip Van. They're only 3 grams of sugar. They're the Dutch caramel and vanilla waffles. The little cookies, basically. I love these, they're so good. So the great thing is they have great deals already, but let's say by the end of the year, let's say you join and you do the yearly, it's $60 for the year, so it's $5 a month. If you don't save at least $60 throughout that year, they will credit you the difference. On this order alone, I think I saved $67, so my membership has already paid for itself. I'm entering that phase of life where I'm waking up in the middle of the night for no good reason. And my dad and my mom mentioned taking magnesium glycinate. Is that how you say that? So I grabbed some from Thrive Market. But if you are ready to get your organic products, and it's not just food, it's cleaning products, health and beauty. If you're ready to get them at a great price, I suggest checking out Thrive Market. If you'll just go to thrivemarket.com/mandyinthemaking, when you join today, not only are you gonna save 25% on that back to school sale, but you're also gonna save 30% on your first order, and you're gonna get a free gift worth up to $60. That's a lot of savings and a lot of free stuff. So if you've been thinking about it in the past, now is the time to do it because there's even extra savings added on. And don't forget that right now they have the back to school sale going on. It started on August 3rd. You can save 25% on some of your back to school favorites. Okay, the rest of these are some of them are straight up just soups, but then we have like a chili and another one that's very soup-like, but most of them are gonna go right into the crock pot. You literally are just gonna take the bag and empty it into the crock pot and be done. That's my kind of cooking. But the one that we're making right now, it is a soup and you'll just make it on the stovetop in no time flat. You'll see what I mean. But again, it's gonna be another, put it all in the bag. We're gonna take the bag and put it directly into the pot and be done with it. We're gonna make some meatball and tortellini soup. Now, I've got all my stuff here, but you know what? Before we start assembling this, I need to write on the bag because it's gonna be almost impossible to write on the bag after everything is in there. But the only thing that you'll need in addition to what we're putting in there today is chicken broth, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I wrote on here that this is the meatball and tortellini soup. We're gonna bring 1 carton of chicken broth to a boil on the stovetop, and then we'll just add all of this frozen. and then you're just gonna simmer it for 10 minutes, and then dinner is ready. I'm only gonna use about half of this bag of meatballs. I really love this brand of frozen meatballs. A lot of frozen meatballs I just don't like, but these I do. I'm gonna use about half of this bag. We're gonna use this whole bag of frozen cheese tortellini. This bag is a 14-ounce bag. Then we're gonna use a 10-ounce package of frozen chopped spinach. So this might be a bit of a task, trying to get this out and kind of broken up so it'll go in there. But you know what? I mean, it's fine if it's just in a block because it'll all break up when it's cooking. So I'll take that back. Dun, da, da, da. Now you can use the Italian style diced tomatoes, but I'm going to use the fire roasted because that's what I love. That's what we keep on hand from Thrive. Okay, you're not going to drain these either, so you're just going to pour them in as is. And then we need about a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. I still have that out from Spice Titan. I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. There we go. That should be good. That's all we got to do. This one is so easy. I should have bought, you know what? I should have bought extra cheese tortellini because I could have made 2 of them since I have the extra meatballs. Here's Mandy not thinking ahead. That's okay. So I'm gonna get as much of this air out as I can, and this one is ready for the freezer, seeing as how most of the ingredients are already frozen. This will be a 10-minute meal one night when I'm busy and don't feel like cooking. I love that I don't even have to think ahead. This one can go straight from frozen right into boiling water. That's a win. The next one that we're making is gonna go in another freezer bag, so I'm gonna write everything down. But this is steak chili. I love that we're using stew meat for this, and you could, with all of these, you can just go ahead and make them and eat them. But I love that this one is, you thaw it overnight and then you throw it in the slow cooker in the morning. Easy peasy. Okay, this is pretty easy. We just need to dice up some more onion here. And then we're gonna check, I got some stew meat. We're gonna check it and see if I need to cut it into smaller pieces, because I for sure don't want them to be large chunks in our chili. So I'm gonna grab a different cutting board and we'll do that. I could have used my handy dandy chopper for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this onion to our bag just to get it out of my way. Now let's look at this stew meat. You want 1.5 to 2 pounds of the stew meat, and I'm just gonna do arts and crafts, as Stephen calls it, and use my kitchen shears to cut these up into smaller pieces. And once I'm done, we'll add that to the bag and then just add a few more ingredients and we'll be done. All done. So let's add our beef in here. Let me wash my hands and let's add the remaining ingredients. We need a can of fire roasted diced tomatoes, a 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. One of the things I love about the Thrive Market brand is that these are pull tabs and you don't have to get your can opener out. It's really nice. We need 1 cup of beef broth. I'm gonna go with beef bone broth just because it has more protein in it. So let's see, how big is this? 16 ounces. So I need about half of this. I think that's about half. Now, the recipe calls for kidney beans. We're not the biggest fan of kidney beans, but the recipe says that you could sub black beans. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drain and rinse these real quick. Okay, these have been drained and rinsed. Let's add those. We need a 4-ounce can of diced green chilies. We need 3 cloves of garlic minced. We're going with garlic today. This is brand new because I just ran out of some. Let me get this open. I understand why they package things the way they do, because they don't want people getting into them before they're supposed to, you know, like at the grocery store. But man, it does not make it easy when you're trying to get into it at home. Did I just use my teeth? Sure did. Have I broken a tooth in the past by doing that? Sure have. But yeah, here I am. Just did it again. You know, they say you live and learn. I do not. Not always anyway. 3 cloves. So 1, 2, 3. Now we need some seasonings. Obviously, this is chili. We need some chili powder. We need a couple of tablespoons of chili powder. 1, 2. We need a couple of teaspoons of cumin. We need a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of black pepper. I'm just gonna throw some in there. That's it. So let's kind of, if I can get some of these seasonings to mash down in there. There we go. Excellent. Okay, it smells like chili. I will give it that. So the directions on this is you thaw it overnight, throw it in the crock pot the next morning, either on low for 8 to 10 hours, or you can do on high for 4 to 5 hours. So I'm gonna work on getting most of the air out of this, seal it up, and we'll get started on the next one. It is time for our next one. This one is called a beef goulash. I love saying that word, goulash. Goulash. And this one we're just gonna prep, put into a bag. It's gonna be thawed overnight. It'll go into the slow cooker. And then the last 45 minutes or so while it's in the slow cooker, you'll have to add one other ingredient that we're not gonna have out today. I'll tell you about that in a minute, but let's get started. Okay, we just need to chop up an onion. Okay, that was quick and easy. Now let's assemble. You're gonna need about 1.5 pounds of stew meat cut up into smaller pieces, kind of like we did with the last one. So I've already done that off camera. So let me put that in there. Mine is more like 1 3/4 pounds, but okay, let's add in our onion. Now we need some garlic, baby. We need 4 cloves of garlic. You can do fresh, of course, but I'm going with the garlic. It says we need 14.5 ounces of diced tomatoes. And you know I'm going with the Old Faithful, fire roasted. I just love the smokiness of fire roasted. You definitely don't have to do that, but we love the flavor of it. Now, the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of tomato puree, which is kind of a cross between tomato paste and tomato sauce. It's not as saucy as the sauce. It's not as pasty as the paste. Tasty as the paste. Don't put that in there. But I'm gonna add just like a couple of tablespoons of the paste, and I'm just gonna add just a little bit of water. Not much. Maybe like a tablespoon of water. There we go. Then we need 2 beef stock cubes, like the bouillon cubes. There you go. You don't have to dilute it or anything. Just put it in there. Now we need a tablespoon of paprika. There we go. And then the recipe calls for, if this was true goulash, you would have sweet smoked paprika. It is not the same as regular smoked paprika, and I can't find sweet smoked anywhere near me. So when I looked it up on old Google, you know, it said a good substitution is this ancho chili powder. So it says we need 2 tablespoons of this. Oh, sir, there we go. And then we just need a little bit of salt and pepper. I thought I had that out and I don't. There we go. And that's it. So let me tell you what ingredient you'll need day of. All right, I'm just gonna mix this up a little bit. You can serve this over noodles, over rice, however you wanna serve it. But what you'll do is you'll put this on low for about 8 hours. And then the last 45 minutes, you're gonna add in a couple of diced red peppers that have been de-seeded and sliced. That way they don't turn into mush. So the last 45 minutes, that's what we'll do. When this cooks, there's a little too much air in there for me. Can we please? Okay, there we go. Beef goulash is done and ready for the freezer. We have got one more to make, and this is a slow cooker chorizo and chicken stew. I may be the most excited to try this one. I don't think this will be in my freezer for very long. This is probably gonna be one of the first ones that I make on a night that I don't have a lot of time, so let's do it. Okay, I wrote on my bag, let's chop up another onion. You know, if I would have played this the smart way, I would have just chopped up all these onions in the very beginning, you know? But around here, I don't always do things the smart way. So here we are. Let me chop this up really quickly. It doesn't have to be super finely diced. I know I said chorizo, but unfortunately, my grocery store did not have the type of chorizo that this calls for. It calls for the chorizo in more like a andouille sausage form, not the ground chorizo. And my grocery store only had ground chorizo. So I am doing andouille sausage instead of the chorizo. But if you can find a chorizo that looks kind of like this, do that. So this is going to be a chicken and sausage stew for us. I'm still excited about it. I think it's going to be so tasty. All right, I think that's all I have to chop. So let's start assembling. Now you need about 2 to 2.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I have already trimmed mine up so that I got most of the fat off of it. So let's add in our chicken thighs and wash our hands. The amount of soap I go through. Okay. Now it calls for 8 ounces of the chorizo. I'm gonna go ahead and throw my onion in because why not? But I have a 12-ounce thing here of the sliced andouille sausage, so I'm just gonna use the whole thing. I've never bought it already sliced like this. I was excited to see that option there. Just saves a little bit of time. Nice. It smells so good. And you know, I said I was gonna use all of it, but I don't know that I am. I may save a little bit. We can have that with eggs in the morning. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm gonna save the rest of that. We need some garlic, baby. About 3 cloves. Now it says 28 ounces of tinned tomatoes. We're gonna do crushed tomatoes. I like crushed tomatoes in a stew, and this comes in 28 ounces. I don't have to open up 2 different cans. So I'm going with crushed. You can do petite diced, you can do regular diced, however you want to do it. But I'm going with crushed since this is a soup anyway. We need, again, a couple of tablespoons of this puree, or in my case, the tomato paste. And I'm not going to worry about adding water since I did crushed tomatoes. I don't need to add water in its place. So I'm just going to add some tomato paste. This one is about done. Okay, there we go. We've got some ground cumin. We need, I think, a couple of teaspoons. Yeah, a couple of teaspoons of ground cumin. a couple of teaspoons of paprika, a couple of teaspoons of dried oregano, or as my husband calls it, oregano, and a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm not going to add too much salt because those andouille sausages have a good bit of salt content. And pepper. That's it. The only other thing you'll need day of, so you'll thaw this in the refrigerator overnight. You'll pop it in your crock pot, cook it on low for 6 hours or so. And then the last 30 minutes, you're going to have 3 orange bell peppers, de-seeded and sliced, and you're going to throw those in. That way, again, they don't get mushy, and that's going to add some good flavor too at the end. So that, my friends, is our chicken and chorizo soup or stew, and we are done. So there you have it. We have got 5, technically 6 meals ready for me in the freezer on days where I know it's going to be busy and I don't want to get takeout. Tell me below, do you utilize freezer meals? And if so, tell me your favorites. Another great idea for freezer meals is a lot of things that you make just whenever. If you make a double batch, you can always freeze that extra. I don't do that very often because what I do for my job is cook for you guys. So a lot of times I don't need the extra meals, but we do have a very busy season right now, and these extra meals are going to come in handy. Don't forget to check out Thrive Market if you haven't done so already. Just go to thrivemarket.com/mandyinthemaking, and when you join today, you will get 30% off of your first order, and you're going to get a free gift worth up to $60. That's a big free gift. Y'all are the best. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.